Well, we are now joined by Brigadier General Dr. Meir Elran from Tel Aviv. He's a senior researcher at the Institute of National Security Studies in Tel Aviv University. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us on the show. My first question to you is, like we've been talking about on the broadcast right now, that the United States has said that Iranian attack on Israel is imminent. It's just a matter of when, if not if. What is your viewpoint on this?
Well, I think that the evaluation that the Iranians might retaliate against Israel one way or another, I think it's correct. I don't know when and how it will happen. The Iranians have a very wide variety of options how to do that, directly or possibly more reasonably indirectly. But I think that the most important thing right now is that Israel has to be well prepared for such a scenario. I think that Israel has the capacity to defend itself from this eventuality, which will be very, very grave if it materializes, and especially if it brings major damage to the Israeli installations or population. So we are, as a country, we are prepared for that. We know how to deal with that, and we certainly hope that it will not be a grave mistake on the part of the Iranians in such a way as to bring a major, broad confrontation in the Middle East beyond what we have right now in the Gaza Strip.
Dr. Elran, while you did partly answer a part of my next question, I was going to ask you, what do you suppose the attack is going to be like? Is it going to be a direct one or an indirect one? Well, as history has told us that Iran usually attacks indirectly. What is your viewpoint on this? Why do you think this is Iran's strategy?
Well, I think that Iran has good reasons to refrain from direct hit against Israel. They have also quite a few options to do it indirectly. Where they have proxies, armed proxies all over the Middle East, as you suggested beforehand, both from the south by the Houthis, in the east from their militias sponsored groups in Iraq. They also have some presence in Syria. And of course, they'll have Hezbollah as a major opponent of Israel that is capable to launch a broader attack on Israel. You have to remember that since the beginning of this war in Gaza, Hezbollah is engaged in a confrontation, a somewhat less than total kind of a confrontation with Israel, exchange of fire of rockets and drones and other air attacks and also ground attacks by anti-tank missiles and things of that sort is happening for 6 months now. So I think that it would be reasonable to expect that they would go for an indirect response. But at the same time, I must stress that, to my understanding, the most important thing for Israel right now is to be prepared for a direct hit by the Iranians from Iran itself towards Israel. This will, of course, necessitate a major effort, defensive effort on our part. And then, based on the assessment of the damages, if there are any major damages, of course, the big question is how Israel will respond. I think that the Iranians do have to take into consideration that if they hit Israel directly from Iranian soil, it will be more dangerous for them because of our response to their response. So this is a very calculated a very risky kind of a calculation, and I don't have a way to know or even to guess what their preferred option will be.
Dr. Elran, in the backdrop of the 11 drones that have been shot down in 24 hours by the US forces in the Red Sea, and in the backdrop of the indirect attacks that you speak of as well. Would you see that the Houthis have been scaling up?
Well, I want to say, to answer your question in a more broad manner, you have to understand that we are not the only factor, only country that is standing against the Iranian aggression in the Middle East. They have their proxies, and we have our allies. And we have very, very important, very, very robust allies in the area. We have I wouldn't say a coalition, but we have a network, a defensive network, a defensive military network to defend ourselves and our interests in the Middle East against the Iranian aggression. Just today, the chief commander of the Central Command of the United States military is visiting Israel for coordination of the response to any kind of an Iranian threat. So the picture is much broader. So there are the Houthis, there are the other proxy militias, there are the Hezbollah, they are all there. But they are standing against a very robust coalition together with Israel that is working together with Israel, not only to defend the Israeli interests, but also to block any kind of a major aggression on the part of the Iranians, especially if it comes directly from Iran to Israel. This will be the gravest mistake that they can take, I think, in the present circumstances.
Dr. Meir Elran, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast with your views.
You're very welcome. Bye-bye.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.